Imagine being a parent, kissing your child goodnight, tucking them into bed, never knowing that behind those innocent eyes lies a darkness so profound it would shatter your world forever. On February 20th, 1993, in Liverpool, England, two 10-year-old boys lured a toddler away from his mother in a crowded shopping centre. What happened next would become one of the most horrifying crimes in British history, a case so disturbing that it forced an entire nation to confront an uncomfortable truth: evil doesn't always come with age. But this isn't that story. Today, we're examining a case that goes even further, one that involves a 14-year-old who committed acts so calculated, so methodical, and so chilling that investigators questioned everything they thought they knew about juvenile crime. This is the story that changed how the world views teenage killers forever. On May 25, 2014, in Waukesha, Wisconsin, two 12-year-old girls, Morgan Geyser and Anissa Weyer, lured their friend Peyton Littner into the woods after a sleepover. What seemed like an innocent day of play turned into a nightmare when the two girls stabbed Peyton 19 times, leaving her crawling out of the forest, barely clinging to life. But remarkably, Peyton survived. The motive? The girls claimed they were trying to appease Slenderman, a fictional internet horror character. This case shocked America and highlighted the dangerous intersection of impressionable young minds and dark internet culture. Yet even this case, as disturbing as it was, involved children who claimed to be under the influence of delusion and fantasy. The case we're focusing on today is different because it involves a teenager who acted with cold, calculated precision, fully aware of what they were doing. In 1998, in Jonesboro, Arkansas, two boys, aged 11 and 13, pulled a fire alarm at their middle school and then opened fire on students and teachers as they evacuated, killing 5 people and wounding 10 others. Mitchell Johnson, 13 at the time, and Andrew Golden, 11, had stolen weapons from Golden's grandfather and planned the attack with disturbing efficiency. They wore camouflage, positioned themselves in the woods, and waited. The crime sent shockwaves through America, but both boys were tried as juveniles and eventually released from custody. The question that haunted investigators was simple: how could children so young plan and execute such violence? But to find the most chilling teen crime ever recorded, we need to travel to Japan, where in 1997, a case emerged that would terrify an entire nation and earn its perpetrator one of the most infamous pseudonyms in criminal history, Seto Sakakibara, or as he became known, Boy A. Between February and May of 1997, a series of brutal attacks targeted elementary school students in Kobe, Japan. The attacks escalated from assault to murder, culminating in the decapitation of 11-year-old Jun Hayes. What made this case uniquely horrifying wasn't just the brutality, but the calculated manner in which the killer taunted authorities and the public. The 14-year-old killer, whose real name has been protected under Japanese law, but is known to be Shinichiro Azuma, left Jun Hayes' severed head at the gates of his middle school with a note stuffed in the mouth. The note, written in red ink to simulate blood, contained a chilling message that read, "This is the beginning of the game. Try to stop me if you can, you stupid police. I desperately want to see people die. It is a thrill for me to commit murder. A bloody judgment is needed for my years of great bitterness." The note was signed with the name Sakakibara Seto, which roughly translates to Apostle of Sake, or Saint of Wine, a reference that added an eerie, almost ritualistic element to the crimes. What separated this case from other juvenile crimes was the level of premeditation and psychological sophistication displayed by someone so young. The killer had been conducting a series of attacks leading up to the murder, testing his methods, refining his approach. 2 months before Jun Hayes' murder, he had attacked and killed 10-year-old Ayoka Yamashita, bludgeoning her with a hammer. He attempted to kill another girl the same day but was interrupted. These weren't impulsive acts of rage. They were experiments, rehearsals for something darker. The investigation that followed was one of the most intensive in Japanese history. Police interviewed thousands of people, and the entire city of Kobe lived in terror. Schools implemented new security measures, parents refused to let their children walk alone, and the media coverage was relentless. The breakthrough came when investigators analyzed the handwriting and language used in the taunting note. The sophisticated vocabulary and specific kanji characters suggested someone with an above-average education and a deep interest in literature and philosophy. This narrowed the search to students, and eventually, the trail led to a local middle school. When police finally confronted the 14-year-old suspect, he initially denied involvement, but eventually confessed to the murders and attacks. What emerged during interrogation painted a portrait of a deeply disturbed young man who had been obsessed with violence and death from an early age. He kept detailed journals documenting his fantasies about killing and dissecting animals, which he had been doing since elementary school. He wrote extensively about his desire to see human suffering and his belief that he was somehow special, chosen for a dark purpose. Mental health experts who evaluated him diagnosed him with various personality disorders, though there has been ongoing debate about the exact nature of his psychological condition. One of the most disturbing aspects of the case was how he described his actions with complete detachment, as if discussing a hobby rather than the murder of children. He told investigators that he felt no remorse because he didn't consider his victims to be fully human. He saw them as objects in his experiment, tools to satisfy his curiosity about death. This level of depersonalization and lack of empathy in someone so young was unprecedented in Japanese criminal history. Under Japanese juvenile law, the killer could not be tried as an adult and could not be named publicly. He was sentenced to a juvenile reformatory where he would remain until the age of 26. This decision sparked massive controversy in Japan, with many arguing that the severity of his crimes warranted an adult sentence. Victims' families were devastated by what they saw as inadequate justice. The case led to significant changes in Japan's juvenile justice system, lowering the age at which minors could be tried as adults from 16 to 14. In 2004, after serving approximately 7 years, the killer was released from the reformatory at age 21. His release was kept secret to protect both him and the public. He was given a new identity and placed under supervision. However, in 2015, he published a memoir titled Zeka, which translates to Absolute Cold, in which he reflected on his crimes and his time in the reformatory. The publication caused outrage across Japan. Victims' families condemned it as a further victimization, and many bookstores refused to carry it. The memoir revealed that even years later, he struggled to understand the emotional weight of what he had done, though he claimed to have developed some level of remorse. What makes this case the most chilling teen crime ever recorded isn't just the brutality or the young age of the perpetrator. It's the combination of calculated planning, psychological sophistication, the taunting of authorities, and the complete absence of remorse in someone who should have been too young to develop such darkness. It forces us to confront uncomfortable questions about the nature of evil, the development of empathy, and whether some individuals are beyond rehabilitation. The case remains a subject of intense study among criminologists and psychologists worldwide, who continue to debate whether this was an exceptional case of a psychopathic teenager or a warning sign of something that could happen anywhere. This story isn't easy to hear, and it shouldn't be. It reminds us that evil can emerge from the most unexpected places, and that innocence is not guaranteed by age. If this case disturbed you as much as it disturbed the world, make sure you subscribe to this channel where we dive deep into the darkest corners of criminal psychology and true crime. Hit that like button if you appreciate the research and storytelling that goes into bringing you these comprehensive analyses. And drop a comment below telling us what case you'd like us to cover next. We read every single comment, and your suggestions shape our content. Turn on notifications so you never miss when we upload our next investigation. The truth is often darker than fiction, and we're here to explore it together. Stay safe out there, and remember, understanding these cases helps us protect the innocent and recognize warning signs before tragedy strikes.